Good evening, everyone. I'm Teddy, and it's late. Um, no, it's night talk. So grab a half a glass of wine, maybe a sip of wine. I finished up my Gatorade, and I just wanted to come on and say good night. That's it. And I also thought, let me see how long it would take for my notification to go out and someone to come into the chair. I know it's late. I'm going to take about, I don't know, 15 minutes and give a quick recap. Did you see or watch, listen to Vice President Kamala Harris tonight? Well, she was here in Michigan, in Farmington Hills, Michigan, to be exact, with Oprah Winfrey for an interview. Did you see it? All right, now I see Joanne just came into the chat. I know you guys didn't expect me to come on this late, and I was contemplating as I was going over some of the things that were said during that interview. Did you watch it? Well, I did. Okay, so some of the things that Vice President Kamala Harris was asked during her interview tonight, there's a list of items, and I even looked and compared what some people were saying that they looked up on Chat GPT compared to some notes that I was making, and it was really interesting. So I thought, let me go on Chat GPT, ask the same question that someone posted on their Twitter. And I seem to get a little bit different of a response. In other words, the person who posted these questions that they ask and posted the results, they seem to be all um, like a negative rating. Okay. For example, one of the questions that this individual asked Chat GPT, how did Kamala answer questions? This first one, evasion and lack of a direct answer. So they use Chat GPT to analyze what Oprah Winfrey asked Kamala Harris and how she responded. But in general, this is how this individual said it was rated, that she avoided specificity and that she generalized most of her answers over the substance. And I thought, did we watch the same? Did we watch the same interview? Now, granted, there were a few questions that maybe lacked more specificity, but throughout, my impression is she showed concern about, let's just talk about a few of the issues on abortion and reproductive rights. If you watched her, as various ones from the audience were asked questions to tell their story by Oprah, she was looking at the individual. She seemed to be empathetic. She showed emotion. She seemed to connect um, with the audience members who had their specific stories and they shared. their concerns about women's rights. She seemed or appeared genuine to me. All right. I didn't really see those answers. Let me turn this. I might have the sound up a little too much on the rain here. Let me turn it down. As I was listening while I was thinking through some of these responses. Is that better? Is that much better? Let me go back to what I was saying. I thought she displayed genuine empathy for the victims and when they were telling their stories. Let's just touch on the first one. Of it was the mother who was sharing the story of her daughter who lost her life because she didn't receive the medical attention. And it wasn't until about 20 hours later, if you remember that one, that if they would have just performed a procedure, that it didn't have to happen. That story was heartbreaking. That story was almost difficult for many of the audience members because if you watch how they were panning the cameras throughout the audience, many people were tearing up. Okay. So I thought on those responses, I thought she showed genuine emotion. She was listening. Now, I'm coming back. I'm looking at your questions, or I'm sorry, your responses to that. I hadn't even looked. And good evening. I'm just going to be on for a few minutes. I see Jennifer Loves Spewed. I see my moderators. I know it's late. Jennifer says she had tears in her eyes when the family of Amber Thurman spoke about her death. Yes, from lack of care due to abortion bans. That was a pivotal moment because it really showed how important it just could have been and the effect that having a ban on a woman's right to an abortion, how it impacted that family and so many others. When the young woman was telling her story, she's the other young lady who mentioned or told her story about being arred by her stepfather. The courage for her to tell her story. And then, if she would not have had the ability to make the decision, she was very young. What was she like? Um, for some reason, I have 12, and the other I have 14. I don't want to. I don't want to misstate it. But that was a critical moment. What they're emphasizing right now is how she responded to the question of immigration. Maybe I'll get back to that, but let's just stay on women's issues. Jennifer says also the story with the young girl who got shot. Yes, in Appalachia school shoot. That was very emotional. The mother telling about her receiving the news at work and how hard it hit her, and that she just basically fell to her knees and prayed for about 20 minutes. And then to learn, the fate of her daughter, she survived, but the emotional uh, scars that she's going to have to live with, the trauma, and it's so fresh. I was almost surprised to see that she and her daughter were even there tonight. Yeah, it must have been extremely hard for them to come in and tell the story, to relive it. When Oprah or her cameraman, played the footage and talked about it. Also, as I'm thinking about it, when she was asked the question about when she first learned, when President Joe Biden made that phone call and she stepped into her own power, and Oprah Winfrey got up out of her um, chair and she stood up and she almost kind of like put her shoulders back, asked her the question like she stepped through, or this veil came down, and the realization that Vice President Kamala Harris talked about her sense of then responsibility and her purpose. That's what she talked about after Biden stepped aside. So I thought she delivered a, a rather confident response, and that it showed that she was ready for leadership. Okay. Um, was that rehearsed? I don't think so. Has she talked about that before? Maybe not asked the way Oprah Winfrey asked her. Now, on the issue of gun control, she talked about herself having, owned a gun. And she also mentioned if someone broke into her home, what she would do with the gun. And then she said, well, realized that maybe the way she responded might not sit well. I'm not going to mention her direct response. She said, I'll deal with that later. That's probably going to be, I don't know. How did you feel before I even discuss it further? How do you feel on that? How she responded to that answer? What she would do if someone broke into her home? What she would do? Okay. I don't think she'll be penalized, but yes, it was it was an honest answer. Yeah, it was. It was yes, off the cuff. That's exactly what it was. It wasn't rehearsed. She could not have prepared exactly for that question. Jennifer says, I honestly like her answer about what she would do if someone broke into her home. It was honest, off the cuff. I think a lot of us would think that too. Let's just say she would handle her business. Okay. If someone broke into her home, I think it kind of it raised uh, Oprah Winfrey's eyebrows because she sat back and like she didn't even know she was a gun owner. Like surprise. Did you get the same impression? Like she was surprised. She didn't even know she owned a gun. I didn't know that either. I mean, until she when asked before. But yeah. What do you think? Any questions, suggestions, comments? There were other things. Do you think the type of questions that were asked were softball questions? Do you think I'm not talking about um, the stories. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about any of the other questions. And overall, how would you rate how she did? Okay. Do you think she did? Let's see how I say. Do you think she did more to um, to convince those that would be on the fence, you know, undecided voters, based on how she responded to the questions tonight, to persuade them to her side? I thought to me, she came across, um, I thought, well and confident. Again, there were a few questions, to be fair, response, but I thought overall she seemed confident, ready to go, but realized that it's still going to be a close race. Now, who was that? Asked the question. Meryl Streep. She asked a question, assuming that um, Vice President Harris becomes the next president. Basically, would it be another like January 6th, January 7th? How would Trump react to that? Is that how you read that question? For those of you who listened, I'm going to have to play that one again, and I'm not going to play the audio, although I it's on Oprah Winfrey's YouTube channel. Some people are playing it. I might, once I take each question, I may do that. Just do like a video pre-recorded rather than doing it live, so that I make sure I give my commentary, I have my banners up, everything. Yeah. But overall, what do you think about her responses? Again, I thought she did a pretty good job. Of course, it was in a different setting, and it was a friendly audience, for the most part, I think. Let's see. Jennifer says, and I know you love politics, I will say that she needs to have more than just the one canned statement about immigration reform being about the bill, yes, that Trump had blocked. We've all heard that before. People want more. That was a pretty direct, tough question. It seemed on the surface it should have been by now. mm, She should have been ready for that question. What would she do, uh, you know, with the border situation? And she didn't really answer it directly. Yeah. And then at the end, Oprah Winfrey, the way she responded, like, but if you were going to answer the question, she kind of helped her along at the end to get to the point, I think. Yeah. So I think that's going to be her toughest one, hurdle, if anything. But for the most part, I think she's. Yeah. I thought her responses tonight didn't seem as canned. Yeah. Latoya Wood says, "Hello, Teddy. Yes, I watched American United rally tonight with Kamala and Oprah Winfrey. I do, yes, I do. Just my opinion." Joanne says, "Honestly, I'm just waiting for my absentee ballot to arrive so I can vote. I've heard more than enough from both candidates. I eagerly anticipate the fight night." Okay. Yes, Meryl Streep, great question. I'm just reading over your response. Says, "I think they already have plans for what might occur. The vice president, she said they'll be ready. They will be ready." Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it would happen the same way. No, I don't. And when she becomes president, I really think right now she's ahead. But you never know. By 2 points, 3 points, that's not enough. And there, several weeks to go. But I think she could win. I do. Now, when President Joe Biden was running, I didn't think the same way. I absolutely thought that um, the former president was going to win, but I don't feel the same way at all. No. When she wins, and I do think she stands a good chance of it, I just hope that there's a lot of measures, put into place for um, anticipation of in different areas. How people might respond to her winning. There's going to be certainly a crowd that's going to be celebrating, but who knows, right? Just don't know. Some people are actually concerned, and they should be, I think. But we just don't know. This will be the first time in history a female president, African American, or a woman of color. I'm to be president. I should not say African American. I'll just say woman of color because she's Indian and she is, her father is Jamaican. So Asian, East Asian, and Jamaican. Okay. Jennifer says, I thought she kind of missed when the couple came on and asked about helping out with inflation. She had already purchased their house, so the 25,000 wouldn't apply to them. That's true. I may have missed that question. I may have stepped away. I'll have to review. Joanne says, only if the young black populists vote, there would be an enormous lead. I think it's going to be tight. I don't think either candidate is going to like run away. I just don't think so. Jennifer says, I'll be a nervous wreck when we know she won. Until, until, let me take that back. Okay. I'll be a nervous wreck until we know she won, Jennifer says. I have PTSD from 2016 because I totally thought Hillary would win. Yes. As a matter of fact, Vice President Kamala Harris is at the same, I think they said polling, that Hillary Clinton was at this same time. She was ahead. Hillary Clinton was ahead too, and she lost. So I don't think that the Harris campaign, Harris and Walz campaign, thinks it's going to be a runaway. No, it's still an uphill battle. Yeah, there's some work to do. Just like she said, knocking on doors and making phone calls, talking to people, getting people, registered to vote. There's a lot of interest in this. Do I feel it's the same as when uh, President Barack Obama, you know, was running? Do I feel that it is the exact same energy? It's a different energy. It's enthusiasm like we haven't seen since um, Barack Obama. Is it the same level? It's different. It feels in some way like the enthusiasm, but it feels different to me. It feels different to me. It's a lot of enthusiasm, but it feels different. Okay. Um, So it will be the first female president. So, yeah. Kind of, it was much like when Hillary Clinton was going to become or should have become the first, female president. It was lots of enthusiasm, women coming out and saw in so many ways that she would be the first, to break that glass ceiling. And there was so much disappointment and let down for so many women because she was right there. Mhm. Joanne seems to think there would be the first civil war, but a much different war. Women versus men. Maybe that's what I'm feeling. It's more women versus men than it's, yes, it's lots of women's issues at the forefront of this campaign. Rightfully so, though. Roe v. Wade, yeah. A huge uptick in registration from important Dem voter blocks. But you're still nervous. Jennifer's still nervous. Optimistic is what Latoya's feeling. Kamala has to be very smart about not making it about her being a woman or a woman of color. It shoots down the Republican lies about DEI. Yes, that's it. That's an important point. In other words, if it's too much about women issues, maybe have more on other policy matters. Hmm. She definitely has female voters, don't you think? I mean, if you just looked at women, all women, she has, you know, African American women, she has Asian women, she has white women, she has women. Yeah. Yes, I did see that report. I did. It's the um, headlines of CNN and the others. Let me read the comment. Jennifer says, Teddy, did you see the report that came out today about the Republican North Carolina governor candidate? Wow. I knew he was crazy, but wow. Yes, for those of you, what is Jennifer referring to? I will just pull it over. And I'll let you read it. Candidates corn site comments unearthed. So they found it's going to be a scandal, don't you think? Or is it just scandalous? Yeah. Mark Robinson, GOP nominee for North Carolina governor, denies making dozens, not only that, but of disturbing comments on a corn site. Wow. Yeah, I did see that. Now, wait a minute. I did see that. The Republican from North Carolina? Oh, okay. I didn't mean to just necessarily click on that, but I did. Let's go to the next one. Jennifer says, I think him being such a horrible candidate for Republicans could actually give Kamala the boost for us to win North Carolina. We only need about a percentage and a half in that state from 2020. Typically, North Carolina votes, it's a red state, correct? I believe that it is. All right. I thought it was going to be on 15 minutes, but it's turned out to be a little bit more. Yeah. Hmm. Anything else? Maybe I should check my email. Oh, my voice is almost, it's not gone, but it's, let me do that. Hmm. Yes, thank you for sending the email. Someone says, stay focused, Teddy. Remain focused. I shall. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for sending the email. Joanne says, yes, it is politically a generalized election, unofficially, basically, that's what you say. Well, you know what? He's probably not going to be North Carolina's governor. His chances went down, or his stock went down a whole lot today, didn't it? Oh boy. If they can find, if somebody can dig up his comments, who else can they dig up? Right? They're going after all these politicians on these sites, even in their hidden what um, avatars or names, whatever they are doing. I don't know. He's way down in the polls. Okay, I wasn't really okay. So that was kind of funny. That just put the nail in his coffin. Okay. He insulted MLK. He spews hatred about trans people in his comments. Yeah. Something about slavery, right? Okay. Joanne says, elect me and I'll put the robot in prison. How about that? You mean you'd be able to pull back the layers? Speaking of layers, no, let me get into this. I almost was going to get into something totally different, but I thought, yeah, I'll just come on and say good night. But I knew, look where I'm at. I'm trying. Latoya says, oh, well, what a disgrace. What a hypocrite. He needs to leave the LGBTQ community alone. He might as well come out of the closet. All right. It's just about 12:30, and if I don't stop now, I won't get to bed before 1:30 because I have some things that I have planned to do. I need 20 minutes or so to finish some things up. That's going to do it for me tonight. Biggest bear hugs go out to all the Grizzlies. Please hit the like on your way out. Join me tomorrow. It's Friday for Messy Mocha. Yeah, I plan to come on in the morning, hopefully before 10 o'clock. Okay. Yeah, I have things to do tomorrow that I've moved until the afternoon. So I should be able to get on. Let's see, who else? He said he wished they would bring slavery back so that he could buy slaves. Yes, I saw that. But I guess he doesn't realize he is black and we know who these slaves were. Although, after a certain uh, time in history, there were some black slaves or who were freed who later went on. Some did have slaves. Yeah, they did. Not a lot, but there were some. Let's see. That was disgusting for him to say. It was. Hmm. What is this about major clout these days? You don't want to mess with them because they could swing the election. Good night, Vicky. Thank you. Good night, Vicky. Good night, baby Juju. Good night, Mom. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm Teddy. Good night.